Hey, what's up? So, this video is partly self-serving in a way, as I'm supposed to practice talking to the camera in order to become more natural at it. Hopefully, I'll even become more natural in real-life conversations, which would be immensely helpful to me because socially, so, without further ado, let's get into it. My name's Amen Gamer. I have a couple channels here which I'm trying to get off the ground. Who knows if they'll work or not? Whatever, might as well give it a shot, right? But I'm here today because I saw a video from a few weeks back about Spoony's posts on Blue Sky about how the Spoony experiment is over and how it's very hard for him to get in front of a camera again because his feelings of shame and inadequacy, and also that if he were to get started again, it probably wouldn't be financially viable. So why bother? I didn't read them all that closely. I got the general gist. So if I get some of the specifics wrong, kill me in the comments. So I have to preface this by saying that probably 15 years ago, 16 years ago, nearly 17 years ago, I sent Spoony an email about some controversy that he was involved in at the time. I think it was that joke about, was it Jesu Otaku? Or however you pronounce that. I was never really clear. And I was giving him some, unsolicited advice. And it's kind of funny that 17 years after the fact, here I am to do the same thing again. So this is fun. This is fun. Of course, I understand how stupid it was back then. And I also understand how silly it is now. But I have these thoughts. I'm going to put them out there. And if they help anybody out, then good. And if not, whatever. So, yeah, that was when I was probably 11, maybe 12. Long time ago. And from there, I guess I could talk about my history with Spoony. It sounds parasocial. I promise it's not. You could say I grew up watching Spoony. I think that's fair to say. Like, late grade school through when he stopped videos, so middle school, high school probably. Big Spoony fan. Anything he put out, I would watch it. Even some of the wrestling stuff, and I honestly wasn't that into wrestling, and I'm not. I mean, after all, when I would have started watching current wrestling, it sucked. So, yeah. But I think it's also fair to say that Spoony helped make me the person I am today. That sounds crazy. It sounds like a huge glaze, but hear me out. By the way, for all you Zoomers out there, glazing, if you understand where that term comes from, that's pretty gross, dude. So think about it before you say that. But you get what I'm saying. So, at the time and through today, there's this very common sentiment of, the quality of a game or a piece of media doesn't matter as long as you're having fun with it. And of course, that's true to an extent. But at the same time, it's kind of caused people to delude themselves into thinking that things which are objectively poorly designed, whether that's narrative or whether that's gameplay or, visually what have you, they've deluded themselves into thinking that bad or mid-quality things are really good just because they had fun with it for some other reason. Going back years and years, you kind of see this in the Sonic fandom because, they're really into the characters, they're really into the style, even though the games are all over the place quality wise, you still have this diehard fandom. Although they've taken so much flack over the years that they kind of get it now. Sort of like the modern Final Fantasy fan has to realize that the last few mainline games were almost irredeemably bad. And if they like it, it's not because it's objectively really good. It's because they liked some part of it more than the bad parts bothered them. Fair to say, I think. If you think I'm wrong, again, let me know in the comments. Just tear into me. I want to hear it. So that's always been a problem, this delusion. And of course, this was muddled by the game journalists who, games which are objectively of good quality, but bother them for some reason, like God Hand, or as a more recent example, that one guy who was having a heck of a time getting through the tutorial for Cuphead. I'm not going to go out of I'm not going to say, he's a terrible gamer or he's stupid or he has no skill. But in terms of the journalism aspect of it, it was kind of silly because I believe part of his point was this game needs to have a lower difficulty for accessibility purposes because I just can't overcome this challenge. So that's always been kind of an issue. And deep down, us capital G gamers, yeah, that might be cringe to say, but it's what it is. We have this sort of gamer rage. Now, let me get more specific. So there can be these little things that bother you in the game. If you're like me, you see the wasted potential where it's like, hey, this part of the game could have been so much more meaningful and synergized artistically and mechanically with the rest of the experience so much better if they just hadn't made this one really obviously stupid decision. Now, sometimes it's time constraints, resource constraints, budget restraints, whatever. And it's just not finished. Other times, it's deliberate, and whoever made the decision thought it was passable for whatever reason. In both of those cases, I think it's very, very important to recognize, A, that something's wrong, B, what is wrong about it, and C, ways around that. Because otherwise, it's if those things can't be articulated, then it's very extremely difficult for people to make good games. Like, and I could be very unfair to this game, but because I haven't played it, but there are quite a few parallels. So a new indie game that came out, Sea of Stars. It's a little indie JRPG, gorgeous sprite art. I thought the visual design overall was kind of samey. There's a lot of purples and stuff like that, but some people really dig that. Cool. I heard that partway through the game, the narrative really, really drags, and so does some of the gameplay. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to understand this firsthand, but I'm saying you, if you're a gamer, you have seen things like this happen, right? In the case of like Xenogears, where it's just unfinished at the end, or other media too, Neon Genesis Evangelion, or Evangelion, as we say in the English-speaking world. It is like the end is just unfinished. Okay. And you can see ways out that were better than what they actually did, right? This is a path forward because, like all of you, I just want good games. I want people to make good games. I don't want to hate on everything. So, back to Spoony. Watching Spoony tear into these games, some of which were very beloved, Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy X, people love those games. But the way I grew up, it's like, wow, these were actually kind of crap. They had some redeeming qualities, sure, but if like these are big problems that probably should have been addressed given the budget and the stakes, right? These are things which a lot of people are aware of, but try ranting to your friends about this. They don't want to hear it. They're having fun with the game. There's no catharsis. You're just like stewing and, mourning over what might have been, right? Mourning sounds dramatic, but it's essentially what it is, right? Like, oh, this could have been so much more, but they made these stupid mistakes. So Spoony is so good at articulating those kinds of problems in a funny and entertaining way, while also emoting in that way that most of us don't really get to. Because again, nobody wants to hear it. We can't rant entertainingly enough for people to have fun listening to us. So that was so cathartic as a kid. It was like, hey, these observations that I'm making, and I know a lot of them were played up as part of the character, but there was still truth to them, right? So these truthful observations that I'm making, I'm not just crazy. I'm not just like a nitpicking hater for the sake of being a hater. I'm not just a contrarian. I'm a little bit of a contrarian, but only because I was conditioned to be so by people ignoring these problems. So Spoony gave me a framework for thinking about these kinds of issues in a basically exploring the causality of them. And that has gone through all aspects of my life. It's that powerful, right? And I know not all people have this experience with Spoony. It's first and foremost entertainment, but Spoony made me think about things in terms of, oh, I see a problem here. Why is it a problem? Why does it bother me? What's causing the problem? Can I fix it? Which a lot of people I've noticed have this sort of, they've distanced themselves for whatever reason. A lot of times it's external factors, could be how they're raised, could be the media that they consume normally, but they're kind of divorced from this causality. They get to a point where they can't reconcile what they feel with reality. And then they just kind of give up and go, oh, well, it's not that big a deal. I'm done. And they go on about their merry way with whatever awful problems that they have that they may have created for themselves, situations they may have gotten themselves into. And there's no way out for that. At least no clear way out. It's just they have to delude themselves that whatever the problem is fine because they can't articulate what the problem is. So that's what Spoony gave me. And I'll be forever grateful. So that's why I'm making this video, really. So my first section, I guess, of unsolicited advice is probably video-wise. So Spoony has put down on here that he's done. There's no way forward for that, and it's no use in stringing himself and other people around him along with the hope that he might be able to do something. Now, I think that this is very powerful. I guess I'm an optimist. But when you're able to admit the problem, admit your failure, and call it quits with the way that you've been trying to do something, that's not necessarily just an end. It's a doorway. Because you can go, hey, now I don't have any obligation to continue that delusion. I don't have any obligation to keep up any kind of appearance. I failed. Everybody knows I failed. Fuck it. That is incredibly powerful. It's freeing. You can do whatever you want now. And if what you're putting on here is true, video production was all I was ever good at and all I ever wanted to do, you can make whatever kind of video you want. You don't have to think about it like, hey, I need to make this edited masterpiece of a review. I don't need to review in super depth a 120-hour Final Fantasy game. I can just do whatever. So, and I know there's been other, here's a path forward for Spoony's comeback kind of videos. Some of them realistic, some of them not so much. But I guess at this point, there's nothing to lose. Your dignity? Or making videos on the internet. Look at me, I'm dressed like a fucking asshole. What dignity? So here's the other main point of what I'm trying to convey to you all here. It is important to be realistic with what you're good at and what you have the potential to be good at, what you are capable of doing consistently. So Spoony, perhaps he can't put out these big, huge videos, at least with his same process as before, whether that's a creative process, whether that's his work process, like his actual workflow, how he comes up with these things, scripts them, films them, so on and so forth. That's probably too much of a burden. But you can try something different. So what I'm trying to say here is let's articulate the main value proposition of a Spoony video. So Spoony really loves editing. He loves to do the cinematic stuff, even if it's, kind of silly. That's what he enjoys a lot of. And I think that's what he thinks part of the value of his videos was. And of course, it is a part of the value of his videos. But that's not the main draw. The main draw is the way that Spoony talks and the way that he thinks about things. That's why, if you like Spoony videos, you can go back and listen to any of his vlogs. And they're they're great. They're entertaining to listen to. Like, did I watch Paranormal Activity? No. Do I care to? No. But listening to Spoony talk about it, it's really fun, especially because he's very positive about the first one. And of course, with the other ones, he's less so. I think he gave up on the series around the third one, maybe the fourth one. But you get to see that here's the problems. Here's what they could have done better. I don't know why they did it this way. and he says it in a funny way. It's entertaining to hear him listen to it or to hear him talk about it. Now, that's an old example. Those are quite old by this point, those videos. But you can go and review some of his Livewire stuff. When he riffs on something, when he comes up with something witty and he lets it rip, oh, the man has still got it. Because that's who he is. He's good at talking in an entertaining way. He comes up with witty jokes. Man. And just the off-the-cuff stuff, a lot of the time is really good. Now, you might be saying, hey, the internet reviewer thing is super played out. There's a million people who deliver more value than Spoony ever did. We don't need Spoony anymore, yada, yada, yada. Now, I'm here to tell you that that's factually incorrect. Spoony's not to everybody's tastes, but for the kind of people that empathize with Spoony's perspective on things, problems in games, problems in movies, nobody did it better. No one. Nobody's done it better since. Where's my replacement Spoony? Where's my Spoony clone that has stepped in and is just as funny? There isn't one. You know why? Because nobody does it better. So now that we've established this fact that nobody does it better, how do you move forward from there? Well, cut a rant about something. Barely any editing at all. Maybe to remove a long pause somewhere in there. But Spoony is so on it that I don't know if that would even be an issue. I don't even think he'd have to. And you know what? You title it for the modern times. Give it some like dick-sucking clickbait title. Not too exaggerated though, because that's played out. But something that would make people want to click. Figure out a thumbnail that kind of fits with the modern way that people do that. You know, the current trends. And if people watched it, they would like it. Algorithm's not a problem. You still have subscribers. So a lot of the old heads would tune in, and all of a sudden YouTube's showing it to basically everybody. And these days, more than ever, I think the world needs Spoony, needs a Spoony kind of perspective, because there's obviously a lot of analytical content out there about how whatever doesn't work in a movie or whatever doesn't work in a game. And it's a lot of times very dry, very formal, or just emotionally kind of deadpan, because at this point we're demoralized, right? All the AAA games or most of them are total shit. A lot of stupid mistakes, a lot of just, hey, this soulless cash grab worked once, and that was awesome. So let's keep trying to do that again. Now all your IPs are turned to absolute shit, and nobody knows how to make a good game anymore, except for solo indie developers that occasionally they'll pull out something that's super basic, but the fundamentals are good enough to where it sells like hotcakes, whatever. So now more than ever, the world needs a Spoony perspective, because deep down, we know this shit is ass, but we're demoralized. We don't have that catharsis that Spoony brings. And it doesn't even have to be something recent. Like, I want to know what Spoony thinks about the Blade Runner sequel. At the time, I saw it with my roommates very good friends of mine, at least as much as my poor social skills will allow that. Very good friends of mine, love them to death, great dudes. Nerds, all of them, consummate nerds. So we went to see the Blade Runner sequel in the theater. And it's going through, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking. We get to the end. The credits are rolling, and we stand up. And my friends say, wow, that was pretty good. What did you think? And I'm looking at the credits, and I go, well, I see a lot of names for my hit list. That's a joke. I know you see the ski mask and all that. That can alarm some people. It's a joke for the video. But, like, no, that movie fucking sucks shit. To put it in the Spoony parlance, it sucks the shit ring off my toilet. That movie is ass. Now, of course, the cultural zeitgeist at the time was Ryan Gosling, he just like me, for real, 100. But, like, yeah, that character, you can empathize with that character. It was an okay written character. But the rest of the movie around it, the structure of it, like, it totally missed the point of Blade Runner. And I don't mean it has to have the same exact message. It doesn't have to be about, you know, a guy in a situation where he's forced to do inhumane things, finding his humanity. It obviously doesn't have to be about that. It's supposed to be about, the nature of what makes us human, what makes a person, so on and so forth. I'm talking about the structure, like the ethos with which the movie was constructed. It was trying to be like a Marvel movie, but a little bit more serious. Like, there was that one part where Ryan Gosling like meets the like underground resistance against whatever, and they're all standing in this big line like the fucking Avengers. I think the lady that was running it even had an eye patch like fucking Nick Fury. That was the dumbest shit that they possibly could have done. That does not fit at all. Like, at all. Totally misses the point of... I sound like a broken record now. And I feel like I'm about to break into song. Total dog shit. I want to hear Spoony tear that movie a fucking new one, because I know he's got a hot take about it. Probably posted about it on social media. Doesn't count, sorry. I need to hear it, and so does the world. Games. Recent games, if you've played any of them that's not like a cool indie game passion project, Spoony has probably got a hot take on it, because he's the kind of guy where he sees all the problems with it, all the stupid mistakes, and he can tear those apart. And it'll be so cathartic, so satisfying to hear it from him. There were some other ones I had thought of the last time I made this video. Of course, I can't remember them. So for a little bit of background on me, and partly of why I empathize with Spoony so much, is because I also have a lot of sort of mystery health problems that I haven't thus far been able to resolve. Of course, Spoony's helped me get through that a lot. I go back and I watch the old videos, instant morale boost. And it's not just from nostalgia. If you're one of those people, leave a comment. But yeah, I'll spare you most of the details, but it's kind of an autoimmune sort of thing. Like, my skin will just get kind of gross. I have a lot of, you could call it brain fog. Basically, the current hypothesis on what is happening is that I've had a mold colony growing in my sinuses for about 20 years. And the fact that I'm as healthy as I am today, which is not very healthy, is a sheer miracle. Some people have all the luck with this stuff. Some people end up like Spoony. But it's funny. It sort of went so far to where I remember Spoony way back in the day. He was talking about his heart issues, where he's like, if I try to do things around the house, I will, like anything strenuous, I'll basically pass out, right? Now, I'd never experienced anything like that. But last year, my father was very ill. And I was helping him out a lot. I'll spare you the details, but it was the kind of thing where, oh, dad has to go to the bathroom. I'll carry him to the bathroom. So that was the beginning of the year. Immediately after that, for some reason, we bought a house. So I have a mortgage now, and I had to move. Right after that, I started getting panic attacks for no reason. I'd be walking around outside, not a care in the world, sun's out, job's reasonably secure, no worries. And then, boom, my heart would start pounding, I would get lightheaded, get short of breath. Went to the ER only once, thankfully, because that was an expensive little visit there. But yeah, checked out, nothing wrong with me. But it was still that kind of odd, hopeless feeling of like, what the fuck is wrong with me, man? I was able to recover past there, partly because I know about the mold thing now. I basically have this load of toxins that my body's trying to deal with. And because of that stress on my system, a lot of the things like, thinking about your physics homework back when I was in school was just not a priority for my body to do. So if something didn't give me the stupidest amount of dopamine, it was very, very hard to focus on anything. Now, of course, this had psychological aspects as well. Not necessarily causes, but there was a lot of rumination on, I have all these opportunities and I can't capitalize on them. Capitalize sounds very cold and clinical and like money hungry, but you know what I mean? I can't follow through with these things that I would really love to do because there's something wrong with me. But is it all in my head or is it physiological? Turns out those two things are not, they're more intertwined than you might think. But I do empathize quite a bit, especially with the psychological aspects of it. Because if you've never been in that kind of headspace, it's very hard to imagine not having the agency to do basic things that you want to do. It's very hard to imagine that. My wife is like that to an extent. I've been able to articulate it to her now, and now that we know it's this weird mold thing, she's a lot more understanding. But it's still hard for other people to get into that headspace. So while you're interacting with all these people where they just do shit, it's very hard not to keep ruminating on, why don't I just do shit? I should. Why can't I? What's the issue here? So, long way of saying it, but I kind of get it. It's not the same as you, Spoony. It's not as bad as yours, obviously. But I do kind of get it. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I clawed myself out of the hole. No. It's been pure coincidence. Some would call it divine intervention. Possibility. I am also just very, very lucky. And the fact that I'm able to articulate this to you all viewers out there is something that I feel like I have to do in order to pay this forward. So even if Spoony doesn't see this, which He probably won't. It's the kind of thing that would probably be hard for him to watch. If you're out there and you're in a similar kind of hole, I hope that this is valuable to you. So, I guess let's circle back around to some medical advice. Now, again, I don't know the specifics of what's going on with Spoony, but this could be applicable to Spoony. It could be applicable to anybody else out there. If you have weird chronic health problems, if you have POTS, if you have IBS, and you live in the US especially, but in a lot of other places too, the medical system is very good at surgical intervention. It's very good at fixing broken bones. Acute problems like that, it's very easy. In terms of holistic health, now that's a buzzword that gets thrown around, but take it literally. In terms of holistic health, how lifestyle impacts these things, how like weird little infections that aren't immediately lethal can take their toll on you over time and cause these really bizarre problems. Western medicine isn't necessarily all that good at that. Now, I'm not saying go get acupuncture. I'm not saying go do ayahuasca in the jungle with the Twitter guy. I forget his name. What I'm saying is there actually are some resources out there that might be able to help you. There's a guy who my wife met at a conference called Matt Cusano. That's Matthew Cusano. And we were able to talk to him on a call and go through the symptoms I've been having. Now, he is also very causality minded, you could say. So, finding the root cause is one of the best things that you can do to understand your body and your mind, because they're all intertwined. One of the biggest things that I've learned from all this is physiological stress is psychological stress, and vice versa. Same difference. Hence, the panic attacks. Like, why would that help? Right? Why would that happen psychologically? Absolutely no reason at the time. Like I said, my dad had recovered. I think he was still employed at that point. So, again, nothing to stress about. No reason for my brain and my body to panic. But the rest of the stress, all the physiological stuff from those, the toxins from the mold, which I apparently can't deal with. I don't know. I was a C-section, and I always had sinus problems as a baby. And since, of course, that may have something to do with it. My immune system was probably compromised, and that's why I can't clear it out like a lot of people can. So that toxic stress completely screwed my life up. I couldn't work out. I couldn't go on walks without, working was tough. I made it work. Thankfully, my job is awesome. So I was able to make it work. They were very understanding. Cool. And I know a lot of people are not nearly so lucky. So again, what I'm trying to do here is pay that forward. I'm not coming at this like, oh, you should do this and get out of this situation like I did. No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is trying to find the root cause of this stuff. That can help. That can really help you. And there are resources out there. There's a lot of like advertising and bullshit and like, oh yeah, just take these 500 million supplements that are really expensive and it'll fix your problem. Always look at it from the causality perspective. Now, Noah, I believe he has bipolar. He has bipolar disorder. And I never really got the impression that it's a manifestation of some unresolved trauma. I could be completely wrong about that. But I also know that regardless of the traumas involved, your physiological condition can exacerbate that. Now, I'm not saying go lift, go do yada yada. Obviously, in that sort of situation, that's not necessarily practical. There might be some things that you can do, and it certainly wouldn't hurt to do that, probably, depending on the nature of the cardiac issue. But again, if you can find the root cause of that, that's a new lease on life. What do you have to lose? Fuck it. And I guess that's the key takeaway here for the whole thing. If you're Spoony, if you're somebody else who feels kind of similar to Spoony, what do you have to lose? Fuck it. Fuck them. Yeah, you've probably made mistakes. God knows I've made a lot of mistakes. One of the side effects of the mold poisoning, probably, or whatever my deal is that I'm essentially socially retarded, which is probably why I'm making a video for you all dressed like a fucking asshole. But yes, extremely socially retarded. I've only started to kind of get it well into my 20s, nearly to my 30s. You could consider me vaguely socially competent. So I have a lot of stupid, embarrassing shit that I've done that I've ruminated on for years. I just go over it in my head, imagining it very vividly. Hey, what if I had done this different? Oh, that would have worked so much better. Here's what might have happened. Oh, what if I made this change too? Oh, well, I'll imagine it again. And over and over and over. Now, I know it's corny to say, just do shit. So I'm not really going to say that. But again, what do you have to lose? Keep trying. Yeah, it might be embarrassing. But if you're already known to be kind of a loser, kind of a failure, at least that's kind of how I consider myself, fuck it. What is there to lose? Might as well try something. And if that doesn't work, try something else. Now, don't tell people about it. At least don't obsess about it with other people, because that's way more embarrassing. Put a plan together, write things down, and pursue whatever your endeavor of choice is. For Spoony, I would love to see just little rants here and there. Cut a rant, let it rip, be done with it. Put it out there into the world. See what happens. Oh, it's not going to be financially viable, ever. Dude, even with what happened previously on the Patreon, that had these goals like, oh, you give me this and I will give you this value. You give me this and I will give you this value. Fuck all that. If Spoony was making rants, just cutting little rants, not only would I tune in, I would subscribe on Patreon as a donation, because I think it's important and I like what he does. Period. Because, like we were talking about earlier, nobody does it better. Nobody. There was something else I was thinking of him tearing into. Oh. Now, Let's Plays are tough, right? Especially these days, like no one wants to watch Let's Play episode 37. So that's the kind of thing where editing it would be a burden. I would love to see Spoony play one of the mods for OpenXCom, especially some of the crazier ones. I know X Pirates, it's got titties and stuff in it, so You can't really stream that as well. But that would be cool, or at least to talk about it. Play it and then talk about it. Fuck the footage. You could put a little bit of like B-roll if you record it, but other than that, don't even worry about it. Because again, Spoony talking and articulating these things is what we all tuned in for. Now, other people might not be able to articulate that, but they also probably could not convince me that I'm wrong if they disagree. I'm open to being convinced, though. Let me know in the comments. What else could Spoony talk about? I mean, what couldn't he talk about? Final Fantasy? You could try Final Fantasy IX again. I want to hear more about the aesthetic. Because, man, the game seems fine. But the aesthetic, like the pre-rendered backgrounds and everything, absolutely gorgeous. Really good. But some of the characters, man, and you're going to make me play as this like weird, not even a furry, but like this kind of funky looking dude that looks like it's out of one of those cursed early 2000s 3D children's shows, like Bud Ugly Martians or JJ the Jet Plane. Just like really creepy shit. You're going to make me play as that? And then they re-release it, right? They release like a HD remaster. They 4K upscale the background textures and everything, kind of like the Resident Evil the Resident Evil HD PC port. And the character models are exactly the same. Like if you adjusted the main character's face just a little bit so he doesn't look like such a gormless freak, it would be way easier to play that game. I would be able to jump in. But right now, that bothers the shit out of me. That's fucked up looking. Now, I know you couldn't change the cinematics. Okay. Fine. I guess that would be a futile effort. But no, I could listen to more about that from Spoony. I could listen to more about D&D 5th edition. Because D&D 5th edition has problems. A lot of problems. Just like 4th edition and honestly 3rd edition. It's trying to be a different game than the bones of the game can support. And the people who designed a lot of these games, especially since Gygax left, or was forced out, they don't understand the design philosophy of D&D. Apparently, they didn't read the 1st edition Dungeon Master's Guide, which I have printed up, by the way, and Ringbound. I was able to run a couple games in 1st edition, and while I sadly, at this point in my life, could not keep that up, that was an insanely good experience. But again, only if you understand the design philosophy of the game and you run it playing to those strengths. The newer versions of the game, a lot of them are very flawed in that way, where it's like, you will be punished if you run a long game. 5th edition, you run a long game, everybody's overpowered, it's Dragon Ball Z. Everybody's basically like one-shotting each other. And it's just this weird numbers game, or, you know, you have to spam like the most ball-bustingly difficult encounters all the time for there to be any kind of combat challenge. And then again, the weird shit that takes you out of the game, like, what is it called? Inspiration? The currency that you can be awarded to redo rolls by the DM. And Spoony touched on that back when it first came out. But like, I would love to hear more about that because, again, it's been out for a while. You can see gameplay. I would love to hear Spoony rant about Critical Role, because is that what it's called, Critical Role? The thing where the voice actors play 5th edition and they're like weird. So there's a bunch of scandals and like kind of flirting and like just the grossest excesses of theater kid improv. And I know Spoony was a theater kid, so I mean, I love you theater kids. Sometimes it's too cringe for me. Kind of like choir kids, when in high school you guys would just break into song, regardless of whether it sounded good or not, because you could technically sing. Now, I know what that's like. If I could carry an instrument around with me all the time, I would be fidgeting with it. I would be running scales on my guitar all the time, even though I'm not all that good, just because it's fun. But at the same time, it is cringe as fuck. Tangent aside, I would love to hear Spoony rant about Critical Role, because if anything missed the point of D&D, now it's interesting. Spoony had a I don't know if he articulated this way specifically, but on one of his counter monkeys, he was talking about DMing as telling a story, which is a very common way to articulate it. But in my studying that and in my trying to become a DM without really having played much of the game, because who the fuck is running first edition? If I want to play first edition, I'm DMing first edition. That's just how it is. So I had to think about it a little bit more. And with the design philosophy of first edition, and indeed D&D as a whole, because it's derived from first edition, regardless of how far they get off that mark. It's not about telling a story as the DM. It's about facilitating a story. Some of the most compelling games are sandbox games where the story is set up, but there's a million different ways it could play out based on what the characters do. Obviously, there are certain events in the timeline that are set in stone, can be set in stone, or you can create them reactively if it makes for a better game. But it's you as the DM are sort of the interface into this world. It can be a world that you yourself created as the DM, but the most compelling gameplay happens when there's so many different possibilities and you're playing it as straight as you can. Obviously, if you're working from a pre-written adventure, it's hard to do that. And of course, if you let your players know, like, hey, I'm running an adventure from a book, you can go outside of this, but I can't promise that there will be this continuity of game. Like if you do something that's so far outside the purview of what we're doing that I have to go plan, the session's over and I have to go plan, which can be a major bummer for a lot of people. So a lot of times they won't do it. They'll kind of find the bounds of the sandbox that you've created and then stay in there if they're good players, if they're considerate players, if they sort of catch on to how it all works. But at the end of the day, they just want to play. And the best part about that, the best thing that you can do is, again, having all these limitless possibilities available to them, limitless ways that they can tackle a problem. And then with the constraints for those, they have to make sense. There has to be this, I'm probably not using this word right, but this verisimilitude. Sorry, that's a $5 word. There has to be that verisimilitude. But even though he didn't articulate it that way, Spoony taught me that. Those few sessions that I got to run were so much fun because Spoony taught me that. He gets it. The people who make D&D don't fucking get it. They think it's about improv acting. And so do 80% of the people that play. They want their Quirk-Chungus self-insert OC to like fuck all the bitches or fuck all the dudes or whatever. It's like a self-insert power fantasy instead of a game. And that's why a lot of people find D&D players insufferable now. And that's why a lot of people don't have as much fun with the hobby as they could, because they don't understand how to run it like a game. And they don't understand how to play it like a game. I was helping a friend run this massive 5th edition game with one of the online tools. I think it's Foundry. I like Foundry. It's really solid. of course, because of the way it's designed, it lends itself more to acting like a computer game. And what I mean by that is instead of you describing an environment to the people, to the players, and then having them ask you questions about it to figure out things that the characters would see, but that they themselves can't see. Instead of that, it's very much centered around have a map made for everything, even outside of combat, and then they will shuffle their little tokens around on this map like it's a computer game and they're making their guy walk around. When, like, at that point, if you're populating the maps enough to make that actually work, to where, oh, the character moved here, they can mouse over these things and see what's there. At that point, you're basically programming a computer game. And there's so much overhead to just setting the fucking thing up that it's impractical to have this truly free sandbox. Whereas if you as the DM know what's in the environment, you can describe it to them, they can draw it out, like in first edition. That's why there's a mapper for the dungeons. They draw it out, right? That helps them orient themselves as a party, and it helps them get into the headspace of, we're navigating somewhere that's fucking dangerous. There's some bad shit in here, but there's also treasure that we want to get. The XP for gold thing, I know it's contentious, but when the game is fundamentally designed around exfiltrating treasure from dangerous places and thereby creating an adventure by forcing yourself into dangerous situations or facilitating reasons why to go into dangerous situations, that's where the game really shines. And it avoids murder hoboing. Because you can't just get into fights to grind for XP. There are other ways around that problem, but not in the D&D framework that we all know and love. But anyway, so I'm helping this friend run this insanely big game. A lot of homebrew involved. And it's 5th edition. Now, some of the mechanical issues with the game are a result of the homebrewing. That's fine. But a lot of it is also baked into the game. The way that the combats played out, again, you were seeing like, oh, I want to use my inspiration to re-roll. And again, it was all Rocket Tag. It was all Dragon Ball Z. Somebody got tagged by one of these big monsters. Not only were they dead instantly, but they also could have 2 or 3 shot the monster. There was no back and forth to it at all. There was no, like Spoony was talking about, if you're fighting a dragon, dragons are smart. They have a lot of hit points. Yeah, sure. Hit dice. They have a lot, but they're smart. So dragons aren't dangerous just because they have a lot of hit dice and they're strong. They're dangerous because they're smart. They can use spells. They have a breath weapon. And they can fucking fly. So when one of these big bastards is dug in somewhere, but they have a way out, like, that's a tactical problem. That's fun. That's engaging. They're not a damage sponge. The only way that I got through that was because of Spoony. But also, hearing Spoony talk about these kind of problems would be pretty relevant today. And I know he's passionate about D&D. It's a big topic. You could cover it. You have a lot of experience. Cut a rant. Fuck the intro. Fuck Blind Guardian. They're okay. I like them. Yeah, sure. Cool. Blind Guardian's cool. But fuck them. Fuck the set. You can do it while you're on a walk with Thaco. You can do it while you're on the can. That would actually be really funny. You know, you could even do the just for the old heads. You could do the thing with the aerosol can, where you know there's a music sting and you look around and then you with the Febreze. I forget what movie that was even from. That was funny as shit. Anyway, like yeah, do it on the can. Whatever. When the mood strikes, you just cut one, let it rip, throw it up. Fuck them. If you want like basic sound work, like the effort for that is a lot, and I'm kind of a sound guy. I've been dabbling in it for a number of years now. Well, dabbling. I've been diving into it for a number of years now. I still suck ass, but fuck it. I know more than most people, I guess. I'm competent. I know enough to get myself in trouble. Let's say that. If that's something that Spoony needs, I'll do it for free. What do we need? Maybe noise removal, noise gate, compression, and then mastering it up to the loudness spec for YouTube. Done. There's AI tools that could probably do it even quicker than that, but I fucking hate a lot of this AI bullshit just because it's being forced on me. Kind of like how I, for many years, hated a lot of AAA games that people said were good that weren't, just because they were being forced on me. People were saying, this is so awesome. You should like this. You should have fun with it with us. And I'm like, I'd love to. I really would. But unfortunately, I want people to make good fucking games. So anyway, we're kind of back around to square one. Spoony, there's nothing holding you back but you. But don't ruminate on that. Delude yourself into thinking it'll work. Because honestly, let's be honest, it probably would work. It's hard to think about it that way. But if you think about it as like, hey, I'm so far gone that I might as well try this, then you have nothing to lose. You're doing it for the love of the game. And that's what resonates with people. It's only for fun. Fuck it, fuck them, and fuck you. Anyway, I've been rambling long enough. I can't believe it's been an hour. This might be edited down shorter than that for brevity, or it might not. Anyway, Spoony, we love you. Honestly, that stuff on your blue sky, it read like a suicide note. Don't do anything stupid. But if you do something stupid, make it so stupid that it's awesome. Now, by that, I don't mean what I meant the first time I said don't do anything stupid. You know what I mean by that. What I mean is do something creatively stupid. It could be another, what was that weird wrestling montage you made? It was like Scotty Doesn't Know or whatever. Fuck it. Do something like that again. Why not? Be so delusional that you can't be ignored. Or you can be ignored, but it was still fun to be delusional. That's what I'm doing. And honestly, I don't know if it'll go anywhere, but it's a lot of fun. Deuces.